I think we're live. All right, let's get a nice
Oh, that was
intro going.
it.
Let's see. There we go.
From the Far East to the Great West, the podcast that celebrates the red-headed stepchild of the kung fu genre, Bruceploitation. Welcome to the Clones Cast.
Yeah. See, that's what I was saying. I literally just took the intro to the movie and put it over our random one. But to anybody watching up to this point, are you guys ready for the real intro? All right. Thank you, Michael. Here we go. This is awesome.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm Chu Chiling. Thank you, all the fans. It was welcome to join the conference. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah.
That was amazing.
You like the way he says clone?
Absolutely. Yeah, what a cool guy. You want to see it again?
Yeah, no, he's one of the best. What?
Oh, just kidding. What were you saying about him?
Oh, okay. I was just saying he's like one of the best. You know what I mean? Like he's so full of energy. That guy. He's like you can't. We were having a tough time keeping up with him. He's funny. He's super into what he does. You know, he loves it. He's got such a connection, a great mind. His body's all together. He loves working out. So he's great. I'm glad we got him in a lot of movies.
Yeah, he's like a comedic genius as well as I mean, he knows how goofy he looks, but he's stacked. He looks like he could just kick all our asses.
Yeah, probably good. Well, here we are live. This is weird. I know we're a little lagging because if anybody's wondering what's sometimes with the space, I think we're having a little tiny bit of a delay between us. I see myself staggering a few seconds behind, so we might have some little overlap and a little bit of how would you say dead space.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also recording this locally, so there's a couple things. I have like about 10 clips planned, and I tried to choose clips that have no music in them because that's usually what YouTube picks up on. I mean, again, they shouldn't have any trouble with any of this anyway because we're just reviewing a movie. But yeah, that said, if we get kicked off, sorry everybody, but know that in the end you'll see the whole thing with all the stuff. Then yeah, delay sucks. The Skype one last time we recorded this was really part of the problem. I mean, there were moments where Michael would be talking and he'd be gone for like 2 minutes, and yeah, it just sucks the modern world. But I'll actually share some clips of that one that I can salvage because I've got some great clips of Michael in his storage unit sharing a couple small things. I think people will really love that.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, that said, yeah, names of this movie. We're doing The Gold Connection, 1979. It's also called Iron Dragon Strikes Back. I watched that one first, which is the dubbed version, and then I watched The Gold Connection, which is actually the subtitled version, and it's pretty cool. They're both identical, no missing scenes, but it's cool. Yeah, that both exist in different names, but they're exactly the same. I don't know. Are there other titles for this one?
What was it? You had Iron Dragon Strikes Back, right?
Yeah.
And Gold Connection, right?
Yep.
Sorry, guys, move that camera. Yeah, that's the one. I think those are the main ones, anyway.
Nice. Well, cool. Directed by Ku Chi Hung. What's his story?
Wei Chi Hung, yeah. He's another Shaw Brothers guy, long-term Shaw Brothers guy. Worked for Chang Che, was an assistant to Chang Che, so of course you get your experience. Anybody who's an assistant director to Chang Che gets the good experience. He did a couple other films that some Bruceploitation fans would have seen, which was The Tea House and Big Brother Chang. They were they're both based on, I don't know if it's a comic book or a novel, but it's a crime drama. But Bruce Lee, before he was Bruce Lee, is in it, and he's completely foreshadowing who he will become. He's got a pair of new chakras in one scene, and he's doing the whole deal, and
What?
and they're two really good movies. But that, yeah, the success of that movie is kind of made this director a really well known and often used crime. Like crime, I'm trying to think of who to compare him to in America, but just he did a lot. This is what is reflected in this movie is the very suspense and tension that he prefers probably over just the straight up action scenes.
Yeah, looking at reviewing it again today because I was trying to go over these a few times. There's so many touches that he does. In particular, we have a clip of it later, but it's that great scene right after the poor girlfriend gets her business. But the camera shows like a pot of roses with falling petals, and then it sort of just like zooms back, and then there's Bruce. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot of things actually, the director. He zooms in. Like we talked about this last time, but and I'll make sure that we don't let stuff go because we did this one time. But um the the volume of things, he always likes to like zoom in on the volume being turned up. And as we know, of course, the camera is sort of the Chekhov's gun. We see the camera early on with the girlfriend, and we're going to see the camera later. But it's funny the way the director just sort of like, you know, jumps in on those things.
Yeah, I mean, he does that a few times, like you said, with the audio. In fact, at the very end, I mean, which we'll get to, even with the last kick of death at the end of the movie, there's sort of a moment of just goes into silence, and it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a great point. Cool. So this has Bruce Lee. It has a cool guy named Han Kwok Choi. He's I think
Yeah.
our other lead. Yeah. Phillip Ko.
Yeah.
Yep. Anybody else of
Who
note?
has Philip? Well, Philip is comes in. He's more cameo in this. In fact, the same year, this movie was made by Gold Dig, which is a fairly large independent film company. He did a lot of like Dragon Lives Again, but the one he was shooting this same year was Duel of the Seven Tigers. So it wouldn't. I think he did a few films that year, so it wouldn't surprise me if they sort of just pulled him in off the set, for a couple of scenes in this one. But yeah, and we've also got Kwai, who pops up in every Bruceploitation film, playing one of the mugging bad guys in this one. So we'll recognize a few. And then the fight choreographer who pops up really briefly in the scene where they're shooting the movie is Luke Chen, who was the interesting. He worked as a choreographer on Magnificent Bodyguards with Jackie Chan. So him and Jackie Chan did, which was for Lo Wei, which I thought was kind of interesting because Luke Chen also was the choreographer and actor in Fists of Fury Part 2, which was competitive with Lo Wei's new Fists of Fury. So he probably was like, you did a movie. What the hell? I'll still work with you. So anyways, yeah. So that's kind of the notables that we have here.
I like it. Cool. I have this cool chat thing. By the way, guys, this is all new to us. We've never done this live. We've used other software. Anyway, this is new, but I've got a chat thing, and I just see Chris, the brain, pulling up. He asked the question, do you think this movie got the Iron Dragon Strikes Back after the success of Empire Strikes Back?
Oh yeah, I think so too. I think it's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, these Bruceploitation movies, if you go, especially, there's a point like in the late '70s, early '80s where you'll notice their combination of pulling. I'm trying to think of one to give you as an example, but where they'll pull films from well-known American films and sort of throw a little Bruce into it to make it,
Hey, Gold
pumping it up.
Connection, baby. Yeah. I mean, that was all French Connection,
yeah, right? Or Chinese Connection, either one. Yeah, but there you go.
Yeah, I love it. Cool. So, yeah, we'll just jump in here. So this one starts out, it's pretty cool. It explains everything to you. There's this ship, there's refugees, there's gold smuggling, it's the Vietnamese. We instantly pop in Bruce is on this date with this girl who doesn't quite like what he's doing. In fact, who's her brother?
Well, I just was going to say real quick. I wanted to say that what I thought is interesting about this is that the whole refugee thing, which we see on the TV, is great because it sets up the world that this all takes place in. It's like the macro world of what we're about to see happens, and it's so much doesn't what happens through the course of the story never changes what we see in the beginning, right? It's sort of like this is one of those depressing realistic movies where you're going to realize overall dilemma that's going on with the refugees, the smuggling, et cetera, is really going to be unaffected at all by this horrendous course of this
Yeah.
story. And so you get this great TV stuff, and then we pull off the frame of the TV, pull through the frame of a window, and then we're in the story of our human beings that we're about to dive into and feel
Yeah.
or this is my interpretation, is feeling like they're little pawns in this whole thing in the end of it, you know.
Yeah. They are puns, and they got the shit end of the stick. They find a little bit of gold while they're out fishing. I mean,
Yeah.
God. All right. Well, that leads to, I think, our first clip. So Bruce is out with his girlfriend, shows off his camera, takes a bunch of pictures of her. We're using the camera. We get into our clip one. Bear with me, guys. I hopefully just do this normally, which is our dojo scene. And I know Michael has a lot to say about this dojo scene. I threw a little clip in of the beginning where he destroys the sign, but here we go.
Correct.
Straight out of the Pink Panther. It's like the Kato scene.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of misdirects in this too. You know, we've got a couple of moments in this movie where you're going, oh, I think this is a fight, and it ends up not being a fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is I love, for me, this would score 100% in my top 5 best Bruce Lee fights ever. I think he was at the top of his game physically, choreography wise. There's great because you get as our first fight of the movie, you get a little bit of everything. You get the straight up brawling, which is a little more reflective of, I think, what this film is. You know, a little more realistic basher kind of action. But then you get some shapes. He starts working the snake a little bit, and then you get some gymnastics. And Bruce Lee is really beating out the gymnastics pretty well. He goes into like a cartwheel into this front handstand, almost like he's going to do a front flip, and then he kips up, and it's him. I mean, it's all, you know, in one shot, and it's great. Then he hooks his feet into the rings, and he's fighting upside down for a minute and doing some. But I love this fight. I think it's really well made, and it was shot at Chu Chu Ling's gym, which of course he makes his appearance here, and it's yeah, it's great. I mean, it's, well, like I said, it's got to be for me in my top five favorite movies.
Well, I'll throw up some of the stills you have here of that. We got some very cool.
These are Chi
Yeah.
Chu Ling's personal shots. Yeah.
And then we got this one. Just beautiful. We've got this awesome shot of the guys. I mean, gosh, how cool is that? His dojo, and he just, yeah.
Bruce Tense in these pictures, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. What else we got? And then we have, and yeah, there we go. Those are awesome.
Yeah. And those who know the Bruceploitation movies, the Kung Fu, will also recognize that same Jim from Bruce's Deadly Fingers. I think they were using to use his Jim.
Gotcha. Looking over at chat, Sean brought up, me too. I love the leg in the air thing, the foot in the face. I mean, I think I first saw that from Bruce. Bruce was just like, really? You're gonna come at me after all this? Foot in your face, like, he could just hold the stance perfectly. Um, and Martial Arts Theater 3000 wants to know, how do you rank this amongst Bruce Lee's other films? Sorry, Bruce Lee's other films.
Bruce Lee's other. Right. You know what? I think I like the film a lot. I wouldn't know if it's in my top 5 favorites, but what I do like about it is it's very different. It's like if I was to say to somebody, you want to see a different Bruce Lee film, I think it's this one. And I think the story is actually pretty effective. You're dealing with, we've seen it a couple of times with his movies where you have like Soul Brothers of Kung Fu and what we were just watching, a little bit in Llama Avenger, where you have the dissolution of friendship and the sort of corruption of friendship or whatever. And so, but this one I think is why I like this one. It's definitely the most brutal, in my opinion, fights that Sly's movies ever. The one we get at the end is by far his most violent fight. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I like it a lot. And I think for that reason, it's a worthy one to watch.
Well, and I like it a lot. Me, you and I have gone through this for a really long time now, and you've definitely whipped me with things like Bruce in New Guinea and stuff like that. They're hard to watch. They're hilarious. You understand where they're coming from, but they're not exactly enjoyable. Where this was just delightful, frankly. I mean, everything about this, it's a great film.
Yeah.
All right, well, that leads us into Arku. So the guy who was just now the Kato in that situation, we're getting right from the beginning that he's sort of not best friend. He's kind of a borrower, gambler, whatever. We meet friend 4. It's 4 friends total, and I don't even know his name, but they all go fishing and they find gold. And that's where our plot gets started. And I've got a nice little clip there for the gold finding. Let me throw that on, and then Michael, I'd love to hear what you think.
It's heavy, huh? Hey, it's sealed. Hey, open it up and see. Come on.
Well, come on. Get the thing open, huh?
All right.
You can close down your shop now, and I'll sell you my wares. I don't have to work anymore.
Listen, we don't have to work anymore ever again. Yeah.
We're rich. We're rich. We're rich.
Hey, listen. There's more down there.
Go get it, Go.
That's awesome. I like how small the gold bars are, because we're used to like all of the American Western movies where a gold bar is substantial. And these are these little Vietnamese slivers of gold, which is obviously more money than any of them ever had, but pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's the moment where our friends are about to discover the dark side, and it's kind of funny. At one point in the editing, if you pay attention, you'll see how Sly sort of has a look on his face of he's happy about the gold, and then it kind of cuts. You can tell in the edit the director said, no, you're supposed to be upset about the gold, and it changes all of a sudden.
Cool. Yeah, so they actually decide to put it
Well,
back, which
they,
is crazy. And it's all, of course, Bruce. And I think that's one of those classic things we always talk about. It's the spirit of Bruce Lee in Bruce Lie that's like, well, let's keep things on the up and up, and we'll put it back in the water, and if nobody comes for it, we can have it or something like that. But it was sort of like, downing all the excitement that then now we're like, you know, obviously what happens is Akun comes back, doesn't tell anybody, and steals the gold anyway. So, um, which leads to a funny scene. We talked about it a bit the first time we recorded this, but it's just so random that the next time we see Akun, he's got this big bushy wig on, and he's throwing money at a lady. And I think I have that. It's called Arku the Money Man. Throw it on. Ah, bam.
Is being formed to look into the racket which may involve some
Look at
prominent
that
local
mop.
businessmen.
yeah.
Why are you here?
These here are for your mother's operation. And these are to keep her healthy and well fed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, his hair is a status symbol, I guess,
Right. Yeah, I never thought of that. Like, he looked kind of cool bald. Yeah, it was awesome. Um, yeah, and that they lead it. So one part we missed, jumping straight there, is that he did go to a buyer. He had like the gold hidden in some shoes, and he showed it to the guy and was like, "The guy's like, only for you," and which is crazy because then pretty much right after that scene, they come to the buyer, and I think they're just kind of generally fighting him, but then they hang him. So we are right onto the grit here of like they're not
Yeah,
really letting it. Yeah.
yeah, and you get another great little fight scene here, which is that moment in the alley that's back and forth. And again, it's much less artistic and martial arts oriented than our opening fight scene with Bruce Lee. But it's actually pretty cool. It's actually filmed really well. It's dark, but they do some innovative camera work and pacing with it. And then at the end, like you said, there's that great last moment that's shot from below with the bulb hanging in the frame, and he's hanging from a light bulb, and it's dirty and just perfect.
Yeah, I think our director really liked to do that. I mean, you think about ongoing. I mean, the torture of people seems to be high up on his list of things that he films well.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's that crime. I mean, they beat the crime. I mean, sometimes it gets obviously a little cartoony, with Sam Kwai and his hat and his cigarette and its whole deal. But it's part of the charm of it.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so yeah, so the thugs kill the dude, go to Arkun's house, Arku's house. Um, I like that part. They sneak in, they just toss the place. I don't actually have a clip for this. I could have, but I didn't want to do like, 18 clips versus like 10. But it's a really great
Right.
close up of turning the music up really loud while they ransack the place, which is a recurring theme that comes back in the end. And I like that. I just thought it was ridiculous. But the other thing is, of course, we find the spear gun. So the
Mm-hmm.
thugs come, they tear the place up. Now, unfortunately, Chow comes, who was the third friend. So there's banker friend, random friend. I guess he was really just here to be abused, to be honest. When you think about everybody else's roles, poor Chow. Yeah, so he comes, we get our next big fight. It's actually really good. I mean, I was surprised how Chow was totally standing up for himself. He's fighting off four dudes, they're rolling over barrels, all this stuff. But of course, I don't even know the guy's name, but Asshole comes out with that harpoon and shoots him through the leg. And I have a clip of that. So
Of
there we
course.
are. Yeah, I mean, I have the harpoon, and of course, I have the air compressor. Let's just see what bad things happen to Chow.
Oh boy.
Oh, damn. What an
Tell me.
asshole.
Just who is this Arku? My friend.
Nice. Do we know who the guy in the little hat is?
That's San Kwai.
Okay.
Yeah, you've seen him a dozen times. You know, I mean, he's I'm blanking on what you would probably remember him from, but he's all over the place, and but I mean, that's a great example right there. You know, it's the focus of the scene is about the tension. The camera's going over the POV of basically the spear gun, and the fighting is less martial arts. He's just holding him and pounding his stomach, and then he I love the way he walks up to him and he just slaps him face a bunch of times.
I know, it's so
he's already
mean,
got
so
a thing in
hard
his
to.
leg. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, so Arku comes home, and what's cool, he sees some blood on the ground. He's not a complete dumbass. He's, again, our biggest, like, schemer of the crew. He comes up and he does this funny thing that he slowly unlocks his door and he gets this weird metal box he has shot. And I've got that clip too, so let's do that one. And fortunately, the one after that's air compressors. So here we go. Here's Arku in the tin box. I like that he tastes it.
He smells it, yeah.
Like he's Sherlock Holmes. Oh, the squeaky shoes. Dude, that hallway scene of him running away from them, so good. Love it.
Yeah, yeah, it's really good.
All right, well, that leads
You
us.
probably remember him. He was in Bruce Lee's Greatest Revenge.
The Chow person or the Arku?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, Hong was. He
Yeah,
played like the friend that we talked. He's bald in that as well. You get rid of, but you've seen him a
I
few
know
times.
who
But
you're talking
specifically
about
that.
now. Yeah. All right. And those are a bunch of good fights, frankly. They eventually catch back up with Arku. He holds his own. He escapes. Now it's poor Chow that's up for our next scene with the air compressor. And here we go. Let's just get it over with. Poor bastard.
Drop his pants.
Drop.
Why?
Now talk. John me. And why?
Yeah. That was rough.
And that to me is the greatest because first off, the whole idea of what they're doing is just so bizarre. It's like, I mean, the guy'd be dead probably. I'm
No one's ever
assuming
even
probably
thought of that.
physiologically, there's probably some. Well, maybe somebody has, but then what's so funny is it cuts from that to a billboard of "When a Woman Is in Love," which is a Roger Vadim film from 1976.
I purposely left
And
that in
it's
there
just
for you.
it's great. It's just such a bizarre, contrasting. It's just great. I love it.
Yep. Okay. We get a little break in my
And then we
clips.
get this moment too that follows it, where they're talking about how lousy the direction is in the movie, and
Yeah.
no action and that whole.
Yeah. Yeah, which I think was trying to like tie us in. Like we didn't realize it yet because they really didn't talk about it. But Bruce was also in the movie industry, which is why we get the upcoming scene that he's like on the set with the switcheroo.
Right.
All right.
Right.
All right, so Bruce leaves the movie. They try to kidnap him. There's a good big chase. Bruce beats him up. They run away. They actually find Arku somewhere and just start beating him up. So actually, what I won't even I'll stop there. That fight that they had at the top of like it felt like it was like the top of a abandoned office building, right?
Hmm.
Was there something significant about
Yeah,
that
there's a great
fight?
act, and again, well, I think it's another example of where the director is relying more on the tension than the action. I think in other hands of other directors is like fight, 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 run into a hall, fight, 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 run into a hall, fight, et cetera, et cetera. And here you've got them running around. He builds it up. They're looking through windows. There's this moment where he's coming. One of the characters is one of the bad guys looking through a window. And we're sort of panning with the bad guys, and as we pan through the dark, we realize the foreground is our heroes all hiding behind a couch. And again, what's great about it is the characters are not, I'm going to go fight. Sometimes Bruce plays the hero, right? He's like, even if he's a cab driver, anybody that jumps up in front of him, he's like, let's go, boom, boom, boom. Here, that's showing how they're like, I don't want this stuff. I don't want this life. I want, we're like, we're just in love. We're just friends. It's just like, and what I like is the last shot of it. The very last shot's a long shot in the hallway. It's pretty cool. It's just a oneer. It's just a wide lockdown, and Bruce Lee comes up and basically kicks each one of the guys. There's like, I don't know how many guys. There's 6 or 7. He's just all in one shot. Kicks one, kicks one, kicks one, kicks one, kicks one, kicks one, and then they run off. And again,
That's when they all
I
yeah.
find that's tougher to do. Yeah, and that's another example of martial arts. It's a little more difficult because even with some of the best guys, they there's a way, a modern, not even modern. I mean, it's been going on forever, but the idea of you catch a technique once or twice, and then you get a different angle once or twice, and you're picking these to try to accept, and I think Bruce was at this point was at the top of his game that they would just let him fly sometimes in a wide shot, and that was
Yeah.
a moment like that worked pretty well.
And it went from that scene actually pretty much like they left that, and then Arku was in his hotel room maybe, and he's just getting his ass kicked too. And then they show up, kick those guys' asses again, which is just crazy. Like just one after another. But that's when they
Yeah.
realize that Arku is like not their friend. He has like 2 tickets to paradise, and they weren't part of the paradise plan.
That's right, and the wig had fallen off. His
Yes.
alter ego was gone.
The wig had dropped, yeah, for sure. So cool, yeah. As my notes say, they find Arku somewhere. I think it's like a hotel room because he's throwing his money around. They start beating him. Bruce comes back, and it was really, yeah, they just, it was actually the third friend whose name I never got, the cool financier that works for the bank. Whatever his name is. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just like, no more
Me
of this
too.
shit. Yeah, cool. So yeah, finally they're like, we're done ambushing Bruce and crew because we keep getting our asses kicked. So it's time to call and arrange for a trade, and we get the cool scene at the quarry. And I have the scene lined up here. It's just, I don't have everything because it's just too long of a scene and it's awesome. But I do have where the bad guys are walking up. So here we go. Let's throw that on and we can talk about the quarry scene. It's awesome.
Boy, help me. Careful. Right.
It's a really cool place.
Yeah, they love rock quarries, that's for sure.
Yeah, I guess there's lots of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember to leave the scenes in where poor Cho is getting like dragged away, and unfortunately, of course, he doesn't survive the battle.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was another great example of the way this director works, and with the tension and the camera work. You know, you notice we were shooting through that inside of the bus, and we were shooting outside. And we're focused on these characters coming together, about to do this intense trade off, and then this bald head comes up into the shot in the
It's a
foreground.
great
You know, and you
scene.
really realize, oh wait, you know, yeah.
I would have been happier if he would have run one of them over. It didn't happen, but that's just my level of darkness. I'm like, run him down, motherfucker.
Okay.
All right. So here's the funny thing. Have you guys noticed up to this point, they always go to those like bleachers or whatever. It's like high up on some office building. They must have just been free to shoot there, but that's where they do their pondering about what's next.
Yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes they go to a one location and they try to shoot a couple of. I mean, we all do this in filmmaking. You know, you get a great location, like, well, what can we shoot here so we can get it all like in one day? But I think you're right that there was a design to it, because all of those scenes in the bleachers are always sort of fairly connective. You know, so there was clearly this idea of, I
Yeah.
like this place, this look, these rows, this empty vacant thing where people should be, but there's only you. And so I mean, you can read into this stuff all day, and a lot of times with these films there's nothing to read into. But I think with this film, again, you're dealing with a director who is actually, whatever it may be in his brain, what we're talking about now, by analyzing these scenes, he had something in mind. There's definitely something there, which I love, and that's why it makes this movie stand out for me.
Yeah, I love it. I agree completely. Yeah, it's sort of like it reminds me of like the old, the Iliad and the Odyssey, Zeus and crew standing on Mount Olympus looking down at the peasants. It's sort of like every time something bad happens, we're back up on this like high place, kind of looking down. So they're just trying to decide what do we do next? What do we do with the gold? Um, it's funny to me that nobody else knows where the gold is buried except Haku. He's it. And like it stays that way. Spoiler, but yeah, it's crazy. Like Bruce should have been
Oh
like,
yeah.
where did you put the extra gold bars? I'd like to know that. I could use it as leverage slaver or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and then again, that's what we talked about at the beginning. There clearly is a point to this movie, which is this sort of ruination of lives that nobody's even going to ever notice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, just the last shot of Kwai that we get to, it's that way, right? I mean, it's just sort of like done.
And
no great swan song, nothing.
so who are the aggressors here? I mean, who are if we look at the model in that, we have these aggressors who are after the gold, and they've got, power, which we see in this. I mean, it's obvious. Later on, we're going to get there that these people don't matter. Who are the aggressors and who are the victims?
Right, and I think this is the 70s. I mean, you watch American movies in the 70s, and it was much the same. This is where there was this blurring of, whether it was Serpico or Dirty Harry or whoever, where you were blurring the lines of good guy, bad guys. I mean, that's what the 70s was a complete rebelling of the, even with the martial arts films. You had the, heroic chivalry, of the older films, the King Hu movies or whatever. That was, there's the good guy and there's the bad guy, and and here it was like getting a little bit lost. Now I think that was less the issue here. Maybe we're supposed to know these guys were the good guys that just allowed themselves to get, as people do, pulled into the greed, or at least one in particular did. And but they have this interesting element, which is the guy who the rich guy who lives. We just see him in his office all the time, and he's
Right.
sort of just this like quiet little businessman that's kind of going, okay, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. Yeah, I'll take it. And it's like, it's so weird because it's like, he's not the bad guy. He's not chomping on the cigar going, I'm going to finish these guys. He's responding to the faceless voice on the phone that's kind of going, you can fix this for us. He's like, yeah, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. But it's, and again, at the end of the movie, just to bring it up, he's like, oh, I did a good job. Oh, thank you. And it's what's the last shot when the credits are going up? It's a fish tank. It's just a fish tank and a ship in the fish tank. And it's just like, we've all been pawns in this giant fish tank, I mean, it's great. It's well thought out for sure. But I think that is the point.
No, it's a great point. It's like, it really is a chess game and we don't know who's playing the game because we never see them. It ends up just being a bunch of underlings fighting for whatever the gold. And the gold ended up being meaningless when we get to the end of it. So, yeah, that's terrible. All right, well, yeah, so the baddies actually do what we didn't expect. We expected more of the same. Now we fought in the quarry, they killed another person, and now the baddies hire an assassin. So this is a really funny setup. My clip won't do it justice. I tried to grab a little of the clip, but they do the old switcheroo. So what's really funny about this next scene is we're just watching the movie, cruising along, having a good time, and suddenly we're in this like old school kung fu movie. Long white hair, kung fu master, kicking people's asses. I think when I was watching it for the first time, I'm like, wait, what just happened? Like, it was like on two levels, like, what just happened and why? Like, have I not been paying attention well enough to understand why what's happening right now is happening? But they fix it pretty quickly that Bruce is part of a, production set and they're doing some old school kung fu movie. And the setup is, which it's funny on multiple levels because first off, we just have our good actor that's doing his thing and they pause and they actually just go off on this, for some reason they have a staff with a knife at the end of it. One that's really sharp and one that's a prop. All right, so let me throw in my switcheroo video and then Michael, you and I could get to the bottom of this. The switcheroo. Here we go.
Could be dangerous. Hey, I'm going for a pee, okay? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he had to go pee.
I'm going for a beer, I think. Or no, the loo, is that what it said?
This is the real one, that's the fake. The real one, the fake. Don't you get it wrong.
Right, they put him right next to each other.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
Camera?
Yeah. That's it.
Right. Action!
Rolling.
Hey, not like that. Aim lower. Let's do it again.
I'll kill you!
So what's great about this scene is it eventually leads down hallways and then outside. Everybody's going crazy. But yeah, cool scene.
Yeah, no,
Great.
It's another great example of another good fight scene in this movie. And what I like about, well, first off, I should point out too, is when he's getting ready to shoot it, when you look at that shot of the whole crew and he goes, okay, ready, and action. If you look leaning over, I think it's over Bruce Lei's shoulder, you see Luke Chen, who's the fight choreographer of the movie, and you'll recognize from Fist and Fury 2. But what I like about this, and you didn't show the fish getting cut in half, so that was the other thing, but they do this shot once he starts going through the room with the knife. It plays again as a wonder, like the camera's just going with the guy and you're kind of spinning and it's very chaotic. This guy's throwing pillows at him. They're trying to tackle him. It's not this, it goes from this classical kung fu fight, right? Boom, 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 boom. And all of a sudden it's like reality is, no, get him, tackle him. And that's what I love about it. And it goes on if you watch, it's one continuous shot, which is a lot, people know it's a lot harder to do. You want to cut, reset, cut. And in this case, they don't do that. And it's so effective because it feels so real. After watching the fake kung fu action, you get this and it feels more like, oh my God, this is real.
I love that. Yeah, and absolutely. I felt that too. Like, I mean, we're in this new scene the whole movie's kind of changed. Now this is happening, but this creep who was just like trying to kill people, and they actually find the original guy who had to go pee, and they want to beat him up or whatever, and he's just like, "Oh, he beat me up." It was terrible. It was actually really funny. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
Reaching over
yeah,
to
it's a good scene.
chat, the Martial Arts Mania podcast says once again plays into the common theme found within the Bruce Lee pictures, the breaking down of the wall between cinema and reality, bringing the actual cinematic apparatus into the narrative of the film. Totally, yeah. And we also know Bruce, like as Bruce lies in this, it's just like they want to remind us all Bruce was somebody who was, a part of the movie making universe. So it makes it more the Bruce Lee is like Bruce Lee in this, even though I think we talked about, or maybe I read it in a review. This is the one film where Bruce Lee was like, I'm not going to be called Bruce this time. Like, this is my movie. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And that's a good point. This is one of those few films where we're not seeing posters of Bruce Lee on the wall, or they're talking about Bruce Lee, the great martial artist. I mean, it's kind of pulled away from this, and it's moving on to different territory.
Yeah. Well, lovely. All right, so the switcheroo, we get the restaurant scene with fake watches. So now they get paranoid and they're thinking like everybody's after them. And there's a cool scene where they're in just like a nice restaurant, and they think they're about to get attacked. I think Bruce calls somebody, or maybe his friend calls somebody, and either way, they come and it was like somebody selling fake Rolexes or something. And we're like, cool. Okay, so maybe we're not as paranoid as we need. Maybe we're overly paranoid, like, whatever. But then the next scene is when the girlfriend gets the towel. And I have a clip of that.
Mm-hmm.
Poor sweetie. Here we go. Girlfriend on fire, I call this one.
God.
That was dark, man. Yeah, and here's the rose. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think he was really like, even with the rose thing, it's just like the director was trying to go for it. Like, this beautiful woman was destroyed. This beautiful flower is fading into the darkness.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's a little heavy on the head sometimes. The petals. Yeah, it's exactly it. What you just said, the beauty is falling, and she's been burned, and but it's kind of what you were just talking about before, where you were bringing up the point about the tension. That whole scene on the bus. There's that whole thing about like who's, like you said, the paranoia. There's a lot of that played in here. Like, are they coming for me? Yeah, which I like. He's taking the time to
Yeah.
pay attention to those little details to make it that way. It's a lot of redirects and false lurches. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's a funny scene. So, I mean, I actually think that the whole thing leading up to this, it's really smart. Now we get the girlfriend attacked. We are paranoid. Now our coon gets attacked by lone thugs. We don't know it's lone thugs, but right away he just gets attacked. He fights really well, but then they don't just murder him. They're like, we want your money. We want you to pay us back. So go do that. Which kind of leads to the next section. Like, now he has to drive his van again, as they say. But, he's like a bus driver. It's like he has to become a bus dude. So we get Arku attacked by the lone thugs, which was scary. But then the banker brother, whatever his name was. So the first time I watched it, I didn't understand that the person attacking the banker brother, banker friend, whatever you guys want to call him, I didn't realize that guy was just like a random thug. I'm like, because the battle goes on for a long time. He's slashing his briefcase out in the alley. Like, at one point, he hides under a car. Um, it's a pretty hardcore fight for a street thug. But that was a street thug, right? Like, that guy wasn't part of the bigger picture, right?
Right. Again, that's what I like about this movie is you not only are the characters going, is that a bad guy? Is that a bad guy? Now we as an audience going, is that a bad guy? Is that a bad guy?
Mm.
Whether it's the guy, whether it's and that is so smart about this. This is what I'm saying is this movie, and usually when people talk about Bruce Lee movies, this one rarely gets brought up, which to me is it's too bad because I think it's a pretty interesting movie, you know, for that reason. You know, you get Bruce Lee the Man of Myth or Fist of Fury 2 or whatever. This one rarely comes up, but as maybe because he as a character isn't as focused on as much, you know, it is sort of an ensemble piece. I mean, he is the star, but we're kind of still we go off on the other guys, every other character's story. But man, it's got some really intelligent, you know, maybe a little choppy and a little low budget, but it's got some really interesting dynamics to the story and what it does to you as a viewer for an action
Yeah.
film.
Yeah, and such a shame after all that battling. Like he comes out of the alleyway. He's like, "Cool, that sucked," and then he just gets fucking murdered right there. It's like,
Right.
wow. Thanks, guys. Okay, well that leads to the final.
Which, by the way, you know, is a little bit of a foreshadow of the end, right? I mean, that's kind of a very similar, sort of a same
Oh
type of
shit,
idea.
it sure is. Yeah. Yeah, life means nothing. All right, but it does lead us to our last section of the film, which at this point, Bruce and Arkoon, we want to try to draw them out. So it's kind of hilarious. Like they're on the bus, just driving around, and I think at one point it was something dumb. I can't remember the first one, but the second one made me laugh because the guy was like, "You keep staring at me like that, I'm gonna fucking get you next time." Because they're just paranoid. Like he's glaring at people. It was like straight out of the IT Crowd. It was hilarious. But yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
yeah.
that scene
Finally,
was, again, really well done.
yeah, it was. It was really fun. Yeah, because again, I think they're doing a Hitchcockian sort of finding your suspense. Like we don't know who's who, and everybody on the bus could be the guy that's about to stab our people, but it doesn't happen that way. And yeah, it's funny. All right, well that leads to yeah. Here we are. Come move in with me, bro. We'll just hide in my apartment and they'll never get us or something. I don't know. But we get to so what essentially happens, they do stay home. They're watching football. Arkun's was like, I'm gonna go take a shower, and it's like cool. Like we're safe here. And we get to the psycho shower scene, which I will throw on right now. Unless, Michael, you want to throw in anything before I get to the psycho shower scene.
Do it first, and then we'll talk after. No, it's fine. No, go ahead.
All right, perfect. Jumps a little.
Okay? Okay. You finished?
Soccer fans tune in next
Okay.
Wednesday for the League Cup
We haven't been
final,
kicked
which
off
will
yet,
focus in
so
Premier Soccer
fingers crossed.
For 1 week only. Don't miss this exciting match next Wednesday here on the Pearl.
Ooh, the katana.
With the light bouncing off of it.
Totally. There's got to be something about using a Japanese weapon at this particular point.
Yeah, it's true. It's not a typical broadsword or something.
Right. And considering all the anti-Chinese, anti-Japanese things we've seen.
Okay. Okay.
The old tongue.
Hi.
Great camera angle. Oh my God, that looks awesome.
Yeah, out the window, man. Yeah.
All right, there we go. Hopefully not getting us kicked off. Yeah, cool scene. We got the psycho scene. Yeah,
We got
and
to be doing
Bruce,
something else. I just watch it, man.
that was awesome. Yeah, Bruce tracks him. Um, we get to see the camera again, which is great. So remember, we're talking about the SLR that we saw in the beginning. It's back. It was by his foot earlier while he was watching the game, and now we see it again. Um, we had the volume thing happen again, which is funny. I didn't have a clip of that either, but he turns up the game really loud for whatever reason. Like he didn't want to hear his friend showering or bathing or something, so he went for it. But that led to this big finale of Philip Coe and Bruce. So that leads, yeah. I mean, you want to
Well, it's,
talk about
again,
that before I
from
get?
a point of view of
Yeah, my last clip is I'm not going to show everybody the ending. You guys have to watch that yourselves. But I at least have the camera flashing in his eyes. It's a really long fight, and it's really good. I mean, that's one of those you always talk about it, Michael. You wanted those kinds of fight scenes when you were young because you could go and do the same exact sequence to, because it's well choreographed and it's like they're just giving you free kung fu moves.
Mhm.
Cool. Well, that leads to it then. Let me throw in the camera scene, and we can talk about the big ending. I called this one the Flashman. Well, I thought I had a longer one than that, but whatever. You get the idea.
Give a little
Yeah, he
shot.
flashes. Yeah, he flashes him in the eyes.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like you said, it was brought up in the very first scene where she's like, he's taking pictures of his girlfriend, and she's like, "Oh no, stop it!" And he goes, "Come on, this is my new camera. It's fully automatic. Let's go take some pictures." And then she kind of smiles, and you kind of wonder what kind of pictures they go take. But then but then here we go, and we have it at the end. And as you mentioned a minute ago, it's there's a scene earlier when he's in the room where he's all of a sudden just reaches over to the camera and just kind of moves it a little bit and
Yeah,
pushes it, and you're going, "What's that all about?" But it's just drawing your attention to the fact that camera's there. You don't know for what. And the thing about the audio that you were mentioning is that you've got all this noise. You got the game and the music, and then he's getting stabbed in the bathtub, but then when Bruce Lie's kind of going, "Hey, you okay? What's going on?" And he goes up to the refrigerator, everything goes quiet. So when you have all that noise for a minute or two, and then everything goes
yeah,
quiet, it makes your senses kind of go a little bit. So that was what made it effective. And I'm pretty sure, other people watching might know differently, but I'm this is in my brain. It's not jumping out. But this is the only time I think Bruce Lie and Philip Coe ever fought each other. Um, and I love this again. I love this fight scene too. This one's kind of nice because it's more of a combination of the barbaric choreography we've been watching that's been messy mixed with the martial arts, so the techniques are clean, but yet they're still fighting in this very violent fashion. And the last, as we mentioned, the last technique of this is just the most brutal, the most brutal thing ever. I think in a Bruce Lee movie, is great. It threw me off when I saw it the first time. I was like, he just kick his head off of me. My God.
yeah. Absolutely. Again, I didn't want to put that in here because I think everybody should watch this beginning to end. Don't just watch
Yeah.
us talking about it and see. But yes, it's a very crazy big finale. In fact, beyond that, the death of Philip Coe comes a very random final murder. Our Bruce. The first time I watched it, I thought it was like literally right after that happened. But when you look at it, Michael, you brought this up. He's totally dressed in different clothes. He's like clean. So they just really jump to later on. They murder him for just to clear the slate. Yeah, they just kill him. That's the end.
Yeah, and it's not. It's yeah, that's what it is, and it's funny because they're kind of like saying we don't give a crap about the gold at this point. We're just going to get rid of you. And if you notice, it's an emblem of a Mercedes. And then you see Bruce Lee, and the gun goes off and kills him. And we cut, and it's a black guy, obviously representative of American, and it's just like that's just this sort of, just bizarre, just quick ending. We don't even know this guy. We've never seen him before. It wasn't Phillip that killed you. It's this, foreigner, etc. That just, beautiful Mercedes that shoots you dead.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you see where the gold's buried, and it's going to stay buried unless somebody else discovers it years down the line. And then we have our last shot with our Chinese boss that's, helping out, and just business as usual. Business as usual, but they're all dead.
And like you said, they actually say
burned
that, well,
to a crisp.
none of this was of any consequence. We're just happy to be past it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I love it. Great movie. I thought this was fantastic. Yeah. I don't know what else to say there. All right. Well, let's head into our typical stuff. News. Do you have news? Do you want me to bring up the news I have first?
It just happened. I didn't. What's that?
No, please. Give me. What do you have?
No, I was just going to say that a couple things that are coming to mind. I wasn't there. I was actually working, so I didn't get a chance to go. But just as of the recording of this, we're Thursday, so it was a couple days ago. The New Beverly showed The Big Boss Part 2 and Fists of Fury 2, which will do nobody any good because they weren't there, unless they were there. So that's kind of cool. That's good. I'm glad they're getting back. And there was a period there where they were putting up scheduling movies, but it was never a kung fu movie. It was a lot of, black exploitation or weird, art films, etc. But now I think last month they had a couple kung fu movies this month, so I'm hoping they'll keep at least sticking one in there,
Nice. Didn't they play The Kid as well?
Yeah, and then did they what?
The Bruce Lee, The Kid, or whatever it's called. Didn't they do that one as one of their first opening? I feel like we talked about that, like, New Beverly in particular had, like, the one where Bruce Lee's, like, 12 with his messed up teeth.
Bruce Lee is 12 when you mean the real Bruce Lee you're talking about?
Yeah, was it Bruce Lee? Yeah, was it called The Kid or something? I don't know. They did that one. I think it was the first Bruce. I mean, I don't know if that's really considered Bruceploitation, but because it had Bruce in it, but it was sort of exploiting Bruce after the fact because it was him as a child, and I believe. Oh, sorry. Mm-hmm. Sorry, my kids make it. Anyway, I think the New Beverly did that, so I just think it's like we're doing the thing. So they did that, then Big Boss 2. What was the other? It was a double feature, right?
It was 2 twos. It was Fists of Fury Part 2 and Big Boss 2.
There we go. Anyway, I love it. We don't have anything here yet. My theater's opening back up, but nothing. Yeah, to talk about.
Oh, Halstead, yeah, nothing yet, huh? Bastard.
The news I have.
Well, the other thing I was going to say is on a general kung fu note is that Arrow Films, and a lot of people probably know this, but Arrow Films has announced, cryptically, because they haven't really announced it yet, is they're going to be doing a big Shaw Brothers release. So I think they bought a bunch of Shaw Brothers films. They're going to release a box set or something. I mean, that's what everybody's thinking, but they might do them individually, one after another. But I think they'll be announcing in the next few days, I think, actually. So that's really cool. I mean, they're getting a hold of. They've been doing a great job with some of the other films, and I'm glad they're, because for me and the guys I'm working with, dealing with the Shaw Brothers is a little bit of a, it's a tough cookie and it's a lot of money. So I'm glad somebody's doing it and it's not us, but we'll just stick with the independent films that nobody ever cares about except for us. But I'm glad that Arrow's gonna do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then did you see, I think that was just this morning. I almost want to double check my sources, but Yeah, the Bob Baker letters of Bruce Lee were just sold at auction, and they include all these like wonderful
Mm-hmm.
tidbits about Bob sending, drugs to Hong Kong to Bruce for, sending him coke and acid and all this stuff. I thought it was fascinating. I mean, we all know Bruce was all about, expanding his mind through pharmaceuticals, so I'm not surprised at all. But um, I felt it was like kind of crazy that it didn't get like kind of put under the umbrella of Shannon and the Bruce Lee crew. Like we just got to hear about it as regular people, like all these letters.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, the state doesn't want to have anything to do with that. I've known about his. I mean, look, he hung out with Steve McQueen and James Coburn. It was the '60s and early '70s. All these guys were doing this stuff,
Yeah, it was
And
the
I think
drug
with
time.
him, he's such a hyper. Yeah, it was, and I mean, I think it's tough because for some people, it's like it hits the martial arts healthy guy that he was. I mean, he still was, but I mean, he was going through a period. He was in his early 30s, late 20s, and maybe he got a little too, but from the stress and stuff, he just was probably liked how he felt all hopped up on coke or whatever it was that he was doing, and it's tough with the letters because I don't think anybody has a right to prevent that from being released. It's not, it's a personal letter that was written to him, so they can do what they want with it.
Which also
And
makes
probably
it unfair,
the families
right?
want to make some money and get rid of it.
Like I don't want anybody to read anything private I've ever sent, but if I, or Bruce Lee died, people would want to read it.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's unfair.
yeah. I get you, and I'm mixed on it, because I mean I know about that part of his life, from all, I've heard about it for years, but it's just there's a party that's sort of like just keep it buried because go to a private guy and just get to sell the letters rather than put it up on an auction. He probably could have made a couple phone calls and got the same money, without it becoming a big public thing.
Right?
It's a little bit, it's whatever. What it is. He's still who he is, and he's still the rad cool dude, regardless if he was a little bit interested in the psychedelics, and I know at the time when he passed away, Bob Baker was in. I think he was actually in Hong Kong, and they like the story was, they shipped them back to the United States within 24 hours. Like whoever knew at that time what was kind of interacting between them, and so when Bruce Lee passed away, they were like, "Go," and they just got rid of him because they didn't want the news or anybody coming after him. But
Yeah.
yeah, he was his hookup.
Well, I have a feeling, yeah, the powers that be, being Shannon and crew, didn't really want that to go the way it did, because a lot of, older people especially are just still so, well, if you touch anything like that, you're not, you said it, you're not healthy, you're not some awesome martial artist. It just, yeah, doesn't really matter. But I thought it was interesting. It was Hollywood at the time, and that's what people did, and Bruce felt it helped him come up with better characters. Like, he had to think beyond the minutia of always being Bruce. I don't know. It was interesting, but that's, I guess, now just going to be a part of the whole thing. And I feel
Yeah,
like,
and I don't know if he felt like it was helping him do anything other than just get the hell out of his brain for a little while. Maybe that could be it. But it is funny because this is a weird time because there's that you brought up, and then there's that whole Tarantino podcast he just did with
yeah,
Joe Rogan that was all on Bruce, and it got Shannon to reply to it, based on his movie and all that, and I thought anybody should look up her response to it too if you
it
saw
was
the
really,
pod or
really
listen to the
good.
podcast or saw the
Yeah.
podcast, whatever.
No, for sure. You're dead on. It was so good to read
Yeah,
her response because it is a shame. It's like, we all respect Tarantino. He's done such fantastic movies. It's like I never go there, but there's a point where you just back down from, I don't know, shitting over somebody else's legacy. I don't know. Just go home, man. You got so much other shit you could be freaking out about.
it's funny for me in that movie. Yeah, and it's funny within the context of the movie, it didn't trip me out as much, even though it was very character. I thought that Mike Bong did a great job. It was like he totally had the sound and the just the mism. But because it ultimately in the movie ended up being Brad Pitt's like fantasy of what might happen if he goes to the set, you know, which
That
is
was
sort of
the
like, I'm going to
point,
get
right?
yelled at by Kurt Russell. I'm going to get into a fight with that guy. In a way, I kind of go, okay, it's all right. That was his thought. For all we know, the real Bruce Lee in the movie was like every, you know, because that whole movie was all about the fantasies of the fantasy, you know. I mean, obviously with the ending and all that stuff, but that was the only reason I didn't get totally thrusted off by it, because I didn't specifically feel like he was saying this is the way Bruce Lee was. He was just going, this is the way Brad Pitt's kind of tripping on him right now, you know. But
Agreed.
then
Yeah.
Terry goes on the podcast and then kind of has his own, you know, I've heard him talk about Bruce Lee. It's fine. Everybody's opinion. I mean, I'm cool with it, you know, but I mean, he called him a terrible director, you know, you know, when he's talking about Way of the Dragon, but you know, it's everybody's opinions, and I think it's fine. I just, you know, I was glad that, you know, there was like kind of he got to say what he wanted to say, and she got to say what she wanted to say, and it was kind of, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a little like, you know, like ooh, inside on one hand, but it's sort of like, I'm glad people are getting a chance to vocalize and say what they want to say, you know.
Yeah, hopefully the people who cater.
And I don't think she's right at all, you know. She's making,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
They heard both sides. All right. Well. Okay. We have t-shirts coming. So, hey, if you want,
T-shirts.
yeah, if you want your Clones Cast t-shirt, just let me know. No, don't worry.
Do we?
I'll
We
post.
got a class T-shirt.
Yeah. Finally, after
Yeah,
like years.
my
You know, it's
God.
me. I got the guy who did our original logo, and I asked him to help me fix it up so we could just do it. But yeah, we'll just have shirts. So if you want to Clones Cast it up, I don't have to be Godzilla all the time.
Oh, is that what that's on? That's all right.
Yes, merch. Exactly, Chris. Yeah, so cool. Okay, so that said, I wanted to show my partner bought me this piece of art. She's from the art scene, and she knew somebody. His name's Gabriel Edwards, and he did this cool piece of art. I'm going to throw it up right now. The idea here, he usually just takes like a horror film or an action film, and he finds weird aspects in it, and he posts it. So here is what I was given, and I'll tell you guys when we're done. There we go. So, and Michael, you have to move over. You have to move
Yes,
to
the
this.
movie. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You have to. No, you got to move the other way. There we go.
We got
Ah!
yeah.
Yeah, you'll see it's a lot of aspects from Enter the Dragon. I got most of them right off the bat. I actually had to ask Michael about that beautiful tie there, and I wish I had the follow-up that I could just throw it in here right now. But yeah, you guys let me know if there's something in there that you didn't recognize or you do. But yeah, this is a real print I have. I'm about to frame it. It'll be up behind me next time. But anyway,
Cool.
Bruce in such a cool way. All right.
And then now I'm thinking about, what if they did Bruce Lee, the Man, the Myth? What would be on that poster, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think we can commission this guy. Again, Gabriel Edwards. Check him out. I think he's on Instagram. Yeah,
All right,
just,
that's
yeah.
great plug.
We should make him do them all at this point. That'd be awesome. We actually have a message, and I can try it. We're doing this live. We're doing fine. Let me throw it out there. This was a guy named Tom from the UK, and he wanted to. He sent us a voicemail. I took his voicemail and I attached it to some images in iMovie and made it into a thing I could put into this platform. So let me throw it on really quickly. If you guys can hear him well, Michael, if you can hear him well, we'll respond. If not, I'll tell you right away, Tom, you sent a second message and that was total garbage on Skype, so I got nothing. But this one is coherent, and here we go. So this is a phone call from Tom.
Hi, my name is Tarquin. I'm calling from the UK, calling regarding the Clones Cast. A big thank you to you and Mr. Michael Worth. So thank you, Matthew. Loving the podcasts. Only recently found them. I don't know how I missed them, but I've been a huge fan of the genre for a long, long time, based here in the UK. I thought you might be interested to firstly say thank you. I managed to find Llama Avenger, having thought I'd seen it before, but having confused it with Enter Three Dragons and the Soul Brothers of Kung Fu, so not, or Tiger Strikes Again as it was in the UK. The reason for the call is to basically say, keep doing the great stuff that you're doing. It's so good to tune in, listen to your thoughts on the movies, get some background from you and Michael, but also understand the sort of overall picture of the evolution of the movie making in terms of Bruce Lee's life. I am fortunate enough to have trained with Dan Innocento and various others from the JKD network, both in the US and here, and I wondered, and it's a challenge, I really wanted to get the Chinese stuntman years and years ago, so my mother lived on the west coast of the US, and I used to travel over to see her, and I literally went round video store to video store, and on the way back to LAX airport, found the Chinese stuntman in, I think it was Jumbo Video or something, brought that back to the UK and had to get a brand new video player that played NTSC region so I could watch it. But I think that's quite a challenge to beat. How far have people traveled to get Bruceploitation movies? There's my challenge. Thank you again for the great work. Just so excited to kind of join this community and hear what you've got to say. Thank you. Bye for now.
All right. Well, yeah.
Okay, I want to point something out to you real quick. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I completely got kicked off. So whatever he was exactly saying, I just saw a picture of some wine. I didn't know what was going on. I just got the very last literal sentence of what he said about traveling for Bruceploitation or something. So you have to summarize for me if there was something I was supposed to know.
I think yeah, you're right. I mean, I noticed that you were gone and also had my own problems trying to like fix things. But if I remember right, his challenge is like, what's the furthest you've gone for Bruceploitation?
The furthest.
But I'm just
I
going
would
with this
say
one.
for me.
Sorry, Tom. We love you.
Oh, what's that?
I was just saying, yeah, sorry, Tom. I don't know if I summed him up right, but yes. What's the furthest you've gone for Bruceploitation?
Well, literally the furthest would be Hong Kong and South Korea and Taiwan. But aside from that, I would say just some of the money maybe I've spent a few times in my life for certain things. There was a point where I was much more of a heavier collector. And there were times where you'd see something and somebody would read that, ooh, he really wants this. And because Bruceploitation, to be honest with you, is not in itself an expensive, collectible. It's not something that appreciates per se, in I got to turn my camera right. Appreciates in time like maybe Bruce Lee or certain other things. But for us, it's something great. And I would say, yeah, money. Spending probably more than I should have a couple of times, but that's about it. I can't think of anything too crazy.
Well,
I
as Chris
snuck
pointed
into
out,
a movie once when I was a kid. Okay, there you go. I did actually. That's not true. I snuck my movie cameras in, my Super 8 film camera to the theater like 2 or 3 times to film off the screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I read your thing the other day about Big Boss 2 and how you found the bootleg and all that stuff. So I thought that was awesome too. You copied the bootleg and you felt bad. Anyway, Chris pointed out that he had gone from the UK to California to get Chinese Stuntman. So that's a pretty big hit. And next episode, I have new messages, but I have somebody else who drug his family across England to get things like Chinese Stuntman and Dynamo. So I don't know. I love it. I love that everyone just goes out of their way to get these films.
It's one of our, we know how we feel about this. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody grew up at different periods or different times, and we interconnect our experiences with these kung fu movies to our childhood in many ways. Some of us got into it in our adulthood, but there is, it hits that little pleasure zone in us sometimes. So, you can see we got a Blind Fist of Bruce poster up there, and it's like certain little things sometimes just, they just make us happier in that weird little way.
Exactly.
You sneak off and go, I'm gonna watch, Fist of Fury 3 right now, or for me, at times it's been spending money on buying film prints, even though I may not have the money. I mean, most of the time I buy these film prints to get them for everybody else to see because I just don't want them to just disappear. But, it's, I can't get them all made, it's like, unfortunately, but so, yeah, anyways, it's
Hey, you're fighting the good
it's a fun
battle.
little thing we all have.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, so you
Oh,
promised
good.
it,
Yeah.
Michael. We have, I think, not that many people online, but um, it's time for the Michael Q&A. Does anybody have anything they want to ask? We kind of jumped a little bit into that earlier, but this is the end. We're heading out. What do you want to ask either of us? But I think obviously I'm a moderator and not so much a Michael. So anything you
Oh,
have for him? I see a lot of everybody wants to go to the New Beverly, and I do too. I've never been. So when I come out there, you got to take me to New Beverly.
yeah, you'll like it there. I mean, there's a couple theaters like that, like the Aero Theater in Santa Monica, but they just tend to not go the route of, the New Beverly's all about the grindhouse, kind of an
Yeah.
outlier sort of films, where Aero's a little more Ozu and Kurosawa and Peter Bogdanovich
Oh.
and whatever else, But
All right. So Arrow would be right up my alley, obviously. And I like the smaller theaters. I feel like New Beverly, as much as I do really want to go there. Talk about a place that's already pre-populated. It's going to be hard. Like Hollywood here is pre-populated usually, but not with kung fu films or Chambara samurai films, which I'm totally into. I usually when I get in there with those, half the theaters in there. People want to come see Animal House and stuff like that. So different. All right. So we got. What is the next Pearl River release, Michael?
Well, as we've already mentioned, it's Duel of the Seven Tigers is getting finished right now, and that will be announced with all the special features pretty soon. I think I'm just waiting for the higher ups to give me the cue. What's going to follow that? I don't really know. I do have a couple. It's funny because I'm working with a couple different distribution companies right now, and I'm trying to get all of these films out, and so I'm just sometimes not sure which one's going where. I will tell you this. I have two prints that are really messed up, but of Seven Commandments of Kung Fu, which is an old film favorite of mine. And I am hoping to get the guys at DCI to commit to this. It's going to be a hard one because they're both pretty messed up prints, but I got two of them. So I think there might be some Frankensteining of it to get it together, but I'm hoping I
Oh,
might be able to
cool.
follow up. Duel 7 Tigers. Yeah, I'm hoping. And then, like I said, I'm really, I've been finishing up the documentary, and that's, when the documentary comes out, it's going to do some festivals first. But when the documentary comes out, it is being paired up with, let's just say, several titles. And I can't announce them yet, but I can, there's been little hints. You'll go down the old social media and you'll see like, wow, it's been plenty of them have been hinted at over the months. But so yeah, it's going to be Duel of the Seven Tigers, possibly Seven Commandments of Kung Fu, and I also have a print of. I'll just say this because I don't know what we're doing quite yet, but I have Fist of Fury 3, which is the Jeet Kune Claw's The Supreme Kung Fu, which we did, not that long ago. That might follow up quickly after one of those, or right before one of them, actually. So we'll see. But that's it for the moment.
I love it. All right. Any word on that future project with Bruce Lee? That's from the Martial Arts Mania podcast.
Yeah, I shot a bunch of when I was, I've gone to see him a few times, and the last time specifically, I was paying more attention to this. But I've got a bunch of footage, and I started to put a documentary together. And I was going to do a quick one that was going to be small, that actually was going to come out on Dynamo. But once I started putting it together, I was like, you know what, this is a bigger project, and so that will I was originally going to put that out with Pearl River, but I have gotten another offer to do something else with it that will probably get a lot more attention, and so I'm going to be probably doing it with that. So I'm going to take that to festivals as well. I would say towards the end of this year, you'll be seeing it somewhere.
Cool. Okay, how about the poster book? Where are we at?
Oh yeah, the poster book. That's been such a pain in the ass because once the COVID was over, we kind of like shoved it along to these guys, but then we were stuck behind all their other. And I actually almost took it to another group, but they were charging so much more money. I didn't. We just raised enough by the skin of our teeth to get this done. In fact, I put some of my own money into it to finish it. But the good thing is, the plus of it was, I ended up putting an extra like 20 posters into it. I'm hoping in the next week or two to start putting up some of the pages to show what it looks like. Really cool. So we'll be announcing that pretty quick too. And I just want to get them out to everybody because everybody's been waiting and so patient. But it's good. I'm excited about it.
I love it. All right. Well, I think other than Martial Arts Mania podcast talked about the screening on Monday. It was a lot of fun. Definitely worth it if you've never been. Yeah, Michael, you're free. That's it. Let's see. So Tom, hopefully we gave you what you needed there. Send us another voicemail if you have something else to say. And I know I have a couple more people waiting people who reach out. So everyone should just call that stupid number 424-257-0344. Just call us and we'll talk about it because all we want to do is talk about Bruceploitation. So, okay, fine. U.S. SEALs 3. When's it coming, Michael?
I don't know. I'm ready. I got a couple things ready to go, and that I would be happy to write that script. And that'd be fun.
I love it. All right. Thanks everyone for joining in, and again, this will just be on YouTube. So reach out to us, and thanks for tuning in. Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks, you guys.
Bye, guys.